We do begin with the single worst tragedy ever on Mount Everest. That ferocious avalanche, eyewitnesses describing a crisp, clear day, a hail of ice and snow that struck out of nowhere. What looked like a war zone to many, and you can see it on the map right there. It happened just above base camp. And this is what it looks like on the ground. Each tiny dot, a person dwarfed by the majestic mountain. Tonight, at least 12 people have been killed, all guides known as Sherpas, those experts who risked their lives helping others conquer Everest. And tonight, one of our own is standing by. She just left base camp. She witnessed avalanches of her own. We'll talk to her in a moment. But first here, what we're learning this evening about the missing and the survivors who made it out alive. ABC's David Curley leading us off.
The highest point on the planet, Mount Everest, has a brilliant beauty, but it is forbidding and unforgiving, and today, deadly.
I mean, it did come out of nowhere.
Crossing the treacherous Khumbu icefall, Gavin Turner heard the massive avalanche, pluming into a cloud like this from 5 years ago, a wall of ice and snow. He thought he would die.
The cloud was coming down, and yeah, I mean, for a few seconds, I thought, wow, this is going to take me out of my Sherpa.
It was just before 6:30 in the morning. A group of Sherpas was working near what is called Camp 1. That's when a massive cleaving of ice and snow came crashing down the mountain. A dozen Sherpas killed, 4 missing, apparently buried under the ice. Radio sounded the alarm. Rescuers and helicopters carried the injured down the mountain. 5 of the dead worked many years for Seattle Guide Service.
But with what appears to be unbelievably 16 people that may have been killed, they were probably close together near the center of the avalanche.
Since the first summit in 1953 by Edmund Hillary with Tenzing Norgay, Sherpas have been the backbone of those trying to conquer the top of the world. Those killed today were setting ropes, the roadway up the mountain, a trail as we have seen in past years that can become a parking lot of climbers trying to make it to the top during the very short window of decent weather in the month of May. Mountain guide Robert Link has been on 5 Everest expeditions and summited. Give me a sense of what this means for the climbing community.
It's a black day in the mountains. It's a black day around the world. These guys work hard, harder than anyone on the planet.
The last major tragedy 18 years ago took 8 lives when a group got lost in an Everest storm. Neil Beetelman, a guide, survived and got several of the climbers safely down the mountain.
When things start going wrong and the clock starts ticking away, that's when things can go wrong in a big way and in a hurry.
At least a dozen deaths added to the estimated 250 who have already been killed on this mountain. Questions are being asked tonight about this climbing season and how many will attempt the summit next month. David?
David Curley with us tonight. David, thank you. I want to bring in ABC's Diana Williams, who anchors at WABC here in New York. And Diana just left base camp at Mount Everest, climbing some 17,500 feet herself. And Diana, I know you just made the climb. Normally you take your son with you, this time mom going it alone with your group. But you told me earlier that you witnessed avalanches yourself.
In fact, at least 4 avalanches within a 2-hour period all around base camp. This was actually not a snow avalanche, though. It was actually an ice avalanche, which is extremely dangerous.
Very dangerous. And the avalanche itself happening not far from base camp, which is where you were. Reports of radios going off immediately.
So immediately after this happened, there were folks coming down from Camp 1 above them to help with the rescue, and people coming up from base camp to help with the rescue as well.
Diana, as we know, among the dead and the missing are the very people who guide and protect groups, including your own, going up that mountain.
These folks, they do so much work, everything from cooking meals to climbing the mountain, and they are absolutely amazing people. Everybody I know on the mountain who I've spoken to today is absolutely heartbroken. And I am too. It's just extremely sad.
All right, Diana Williams of WABC here in New York. Diana, thank you. Safe trip home.